But before we do that, let's bring on this other guy, our news correspondent. He's the guy that you can see in our ultra cool Simpsons cartoon done by Dale. And he's a guy with the mohawk there. He's a character in real life as well. And that is Jason McClellan, our news correspondent. Jason, why don't you tell us about some of the UFO news of the week?
I will, and I'll do it very quickly because your guest sounds extremely exciting today.
Take your time.
Oh, all right, I will. But first, I want to point out that, as promised, I am drinking from my Dale Hendrickson.
And our YouTube watchers, or if they're watching right now on
yes,
Open
if you're
Minds
watching
TV.
right now on the video, you can see the coffee cup I promised that has the illustration done by our friend Dale from The Simpsons.
We're
And
just so happy about this.
there we are. You, Maureen, and I are there. Your hands are flailing in the air. Yep, just like that.
One of the coolest cups I've seen in my life.
Yep. And now you have to get one, and Maureen has to get one. And we'll
so
all
does
have
the
our
rest of the
coffee
world.
cups for the show.
Yeah, very sweet.
All right, let's do some news. This is your Open Minds UFO News Brief for Monday, September 12th, 2011. Approximately 20 UFOs were seen in the sky above Moravia, Costa Rica on Saturday, August 27th. The mysterious lights were witnessed by physicians, agents of Costa Rica's version of the FBI. And Alejandro, I'll say this just because I know that you want to practice saying this, because this is important because you're a Spanish speaker. It's actually called the Organismo de Investigación Judicial. That's their FBI, or equivalent of the FBI. So they were physicians, these doctors, and their FBI equivalent agents and other professionals at a party. And the witnesses initially thought that the lights were from helicopters, but no aircraft was ruled out by the nearby airport control tower. Witnesses claimed the UFOs were visible for 5 to 10 minutes, moving from east to west through the sky. One of the witnesses recorded the lights on video, which was later broadcast on Telenoticias, a local news station. And according to InsideCostaRica.com, the video was being subjected to analysis and field research to determine what the lights were. But following the incident, a family revealed to investigators that they were responsible for the lights in the sky. According to Telenoticias in a follow-up report, the family said they launched 27 Chinese lanterns on August 27th as part of a 50th wedding anniversary celebration. And similar lights were seen in the sky in the Caribbean, but the same family claims responsibility for those lights as well. They claimed that they sold Chinese lanterns to a relative who happens to live in the Caribbean. So that's kind of strange and convenient, but those who witnessed the 20-plus lights above Moravia on August 27th have a hard time believing that the lights were simply Chinese lanterns, because their description of these lights, and again, these are the doctors and the government agents, describe the lights as having an intelligent movement about them.
Mm-hmm.
So we've seen Chinese lanterns, and they're, I won't say obvious, but you can pretty much tell what a Chinese lantern is in the sky. And these people saw these lights and thought it was a helicopter and saw them moving through the sky intelligently, as they say. Then comes this family saying, oh, yeah, that was us. And then they said, well, what about these other lights? They were also seen in the Caribbean. Oh, yeah, that's us too.
Yeah, and the Caribbean.
Yeah.
That's kind of wild. I mean, yeah, I could see them launching some Chinese lanterns, but then to say, that's what throws some doubt in here, is to say that these Caribbean ones were also them and they knew about them. That's kind of interesting.
It is kind of interesting. I mean, we hear this a lot. We have witnesses who capture these lights on video, and then we hear stories of people coming forward saying, oh, those are from our party. Why are you people freaking out? And it's certainly plausible. It's a plausible explanation. It does happen. I mean, we know that your neighbors probably freaked out when we launched them at your house. But, yeah, it's kind of interesting that this one family claims responsibility for all these lights that we're seeing.
Yeah, and I mean, the flares, at the military base, those have freaked out people, like where I live, and I videotaped them, and they look strange. So it can be hard to tell. Even with the Chinese lanterns, I can see how they would be hard to tell unless you watch them for a period of time. I mean, they may appear to go over the horizon when they're really falling. The ones we saw, they dropped pretty quick.
Yeah.
So,
and these witnesses said the lights they saw were 5 to 10 minutes. So that's about the time of a long Chinese lantern. But
yeah, so that's possible. Yeah, the thing that throws doubts is the credibility of the witnesses, and that these people are saying, oh, yeah, those were ours.
And also these government agents, these agents who supposedly, or
Yeah.
that's their job is investigating things. They probably investigated strange lights in the sky before. Who knows? But they are trained observers, so the fact that they were kind of freaked out by these lights is interesting too.
Yeah.
Well, in February 2011, and I will say this is a slightly dated story, but I wanted to mention it because we had talked about it a lot on the show back in February, and I hadn't delivered a follow-up to this story. So I'll do that now. Lucy Hawking, writer-in-residence for Arizona State University's Origin Project, launched a writing contest called Dear Aliens, which asked students to answer the following questions. What would you say to extraterrestrials if Earthlings are contacted from outer space? If you had to speak for humanity, what would you say? According to the Arizona Republic, nearly 1,000 messages were submitted to the contest. Benjamin Lee, a 7th grade student from Mesa, Arizona, won the contest. And at a ceremony in early April 2011, Stephen Hawking, Lucy's father, presented, he was present at the festivities they had. They had a multi-day sort of fest for their Origins project, and Stephen Hawking was there, and he read Lee's message, which stated, "Dear aliens, please help save our world. Not from you, from ourselves. We are destroying our planet and need help from more technologically advanced beings. Our planet is polluted, many nations are at war, there is civil unrest, and our economy is in turmoil." And despite Stephen Hawking's grim warning against attempting to contact aliens, Lee's message was beamed into space where it was bounced off the moon. Professor and theoretical physicist Paul Davies was also involved with the Dear Aliens contest. Davies is head of the SETI Post-Detection Task Group, which means that when contact is made with extraterrestrials, it is Davies' responsibility to determine what message is to be sent back to extraterrestrials.
Yeah, it makes me think, though, maybe that's not a bad idea. Maybe we better start sending out our SOSs right now at the rate we're going and how long it takes for the messages to get out. It's probably not a bad idea to start SOS, as we're blowing up our planet.
Who knows how many weird messages have already been sent, so
yeah,
they're going to respond to something.
But it is funny, you're right. It's a funny point that, Stephen Hawking is over here saying, maybe we ought to not do this. They're going to come eat us.
They're going to come attack us and wipe us out and take our planet.
And then his daughter's out there sending messages.
Yep.
Don't be silly, Dad.
Yep.
Hopefully he won't be able to say, I told you so. No.
It was interesting that he actually participated.
Yeah.
After being so public about warning against the contacting.
And it's funny that this wasn't a bigger story for that reason, because when he said it, that could happen, it was a big story.
Mm-hmm.
So I would think that this is, and it's a fun story. It's got the kids and everything. And, all these other stories lately about aliens, green aliens, like they're talking about coming to help us with or coming to destroy us because we're destroying the planet type of issues were big news. You'd think this would be bigger news.
Well, I've got to hand it to Paul Davies. I think this was a brilliant thing for him to be involved in because it cuts his workload. He gets free submissions, so he just chooses the best one and goes, aha, there we go. I don't have to figure out what to say now.
Well, and he is out of the SETI group. I even saw him and Shostak debate this. He is more into the MEDI side, which is messaging extraterrestrials, physically sending messages out, because people need to remember SETI, they're listening. They're not sending messages. They're just listening. But Paul Davies is more into the actual idea of sending messages, because he does believe that a more technically evolved species is probably also more spiritually evolved or socially evolved, where they will be nice to us. They'll treat us like pets.
I could be a pet. That's fine.
Reminds me of the Porno for Pyro song. We'd make great pets.
It allows you to be lazy, and people like to be lazy. So
yeah, and get fed.
Have someone take care of everything for you.
All you got to do is be cute and giggle when your alien tickles you.
That's sort of what a lot of people are in corporate America, of the CEOs.
Yeah.
They're basically pets. I mean, they can't take care of themselves. They've got 20 different secretaries and vice presidents and this and that.
And they need our millions of dollars so they
yes.
can have nice, clean cages.
Yep.
And be taken care of, where people clean up after
driven
them.
around, flown around. People to make their schedule for them.
Yeah.
Do their laundry.
Mm-hmm.
Make their food.
So that's a good idea. The aliens need to come and take them.
Yes.
These corporate.
They're already trained for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Excellent.
Take them away.
It wouldn't be a news report without talking about Fireball, so I've got a Fireball story.
Right.
We talked about this 2 weeks ago, but a Fireball UFO plunged to Earth on Thursday, August 25th in Cusco, Peru. And according to CBS News, the object was initially suspected to be a meteorite, but new information suggests the object could have been debris from a foreign country spacecraft. The Peruvian military has reportedly been actively searching for the object in the outskirts of Cusco for several days, complete with helicopters and commando units. According to news site TIWY.com, the Peruvian authorities have been warned by a certain friendly government that most likely the debris of the space truck Progress M12M have dropped in the territory of the country. Progress M-12M was an unmanned Russian spacecraft launched on August 24th on a resupply mission to the International Space Station, and shortly after the launch, there was a malfunction that was detected and communication with the craft was lost. The Peruvian military hasn't found anything yet, so until they do, this strange object that burned through the sky is still a mystery, but again, this story could have been updated, but I haven't seen any current information about it. But they were out in full force with their commando units looking for this thing.
Well, I know the Russians said they finally figured out what went wrong with their rocket, but I don't remember seeing, and I don't know if I read that whole story, that they recovered the rocket.
Right.
Because they couldn't find it for a period of time. And there was also another lost rocket. There was the what is the name of the
I forget what
private
that
group?
one is, but their super fast plane.
No, who was it? The Google guy
Oh yeah, the Google guy.
who launched his spaceship and then they lost it.
And these two incidents are creating a lot of problems right now.
Yeah. 2 lost rockets.
Yeah.
That's kind of scary.
And it's been big problems for NASA because they rely on
the
these
Russian
rockets
one.
right now, these Russian rockets that did launch this Progress M-12M
Right.
into space. So they've kind of put everything on hold for now because clearly they can't rely on that until they figure out what the problem is.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of scary.
And I guess that could explain all these Fireball UFOs because everything being launched is getting lost and plummeting down.
Now that you mention it, it does seem like a story that is kind of behind the scenes that isn't really getting pushed also, which is that this Russian rocket had problems. So they had to suspend their launches back and forth to the space station. And then there was news that NASA is thinking about and probably has started to fast track a couple of their projects so they can launch something up there, even building a new shuttle. So I think by the behind the scenes, what we're not seeing is there are some people, a little worried about this whole situation that maybe we cut too many programs and now we can't, shuttle our astronauts back and forth. But it was really weird to see that they're even taking parts from shuttles that they didn't build to build a new shuttle they're talking about.
Right. And this could be good for our local private space company, SpaceX. I know is close to being ready with their rockets, and they do have a contract with NASA. So hopefully that's good news for them.
Yeah.
Get some good old US of A rockets.
Yep. Need to get our guys home.
Well, the movie Apollo 18 tells the story of what really happened to the 18th Apollo mission. And while the filmmakers are calling it a documentary to create the illusion of reality, NASA is worried that viewers might accept the movie as fact. Bert Ulrich, NASA's liaison for multimedia, film, and television collaborations, recently told the Los Angeles Times, "The film is a work of fiction, and we always knew that. We were minimally involved with this picture. We never even saw a rough cut. The idea of portraying the Apollo 18 mission as authentic is simply a marketing ploy, perhaps a bit of a Blair Witch Project strategy to generate hype." It's strange that NASA feels the need to go on the defensive. NASA's response is clearly the result of the filmmakers' marketing efforts, which have included using UFO researcher Stanton Friedman as a publicity figure for the film. Friedman has made a number of appearances to lend his opinion about whether or not the real Apollo 18 and Apollo 19 missions were truly scrapped, including an August 15th appearance on MSNBC's Dylan Ratigan show. Space.com reports that in press materials for the movie, Friedman is quoted as saying, "People ask why there why there was no Apollo 18 mission, I ask what happened to Apollo 18 and Apollo 19? They were both paid for, and astronauts were trained. What happened to these missions? And while NASA is urging moviegoers to ignore the claims of reality by filmmakers, the Los Angeles Times points out NASA realizes that keeping the public interested in the extraterrestrial is critical to its future. Ulrich explained, it's a wonderful way to reach the public through these huge media means, like feature films and television shows, and it can inspire people in an interesting way, and it can also instruct people about what space exploration is all about.
Yeah, I think typically they wouldn't mind, except for it's probably because of mostly a little bit from Blair Witch, but especially from Fourth Kind. Couldn't think of the movie name. Because that caused a lot of controversy where they were claiming that, you know, these abductions really happened and people were really lost, and that the newspaper out there had written about it. In fact, the newspaper, I think, even sued the movie company because they were making all of these claims that weren't true, and it caused all of this problem. So while NASA likes people believing in extraterrestrials, they probably want to be careful that there are probably people, and there might be some people listening to this show who are getting mad and saying, what are you talking about? Fourth Kind was all real. Sorry, people, it was not. None of that was real. Of course, as we all study the abduction phenomena, and it seems like, you know, there's something to this phenomena, there's something real going on. But Fourth Kind was not real. That found footage was not real. Those were all actors and actresses. Nothing from that movie was real at all. And you have a lot of people, even to this day, believing that there was something to that. And I'm sure there are people listening to this show who think I'm wrong, but trust me, I'm not. Look into it. Yeah, just watch the credits. Those were all actors and actresses. Those weren't really university professors or real people who have had these experiences at all. Even though you have the actors and the actresses at the beginning and the end acting so serious that this is real and blah, blah, blah. And I think that's what they're worried about, that people, unfortunately, will get fooled and start to believe that, oh, my gosh, look, there was an Apollo 18, and we saw it on the movie and blah, blah. And they just want to be clear. It's cool to watch these movies and have fun and believe in ETs because we want you to pay us to go find ETs. But don't think that this movie is real, because it's not.
Yeah. NASA's had some interesting marketing efforts lately.
You can't trust marketers anyway.
I trust marketers. Select marketers.
Damn fool.
I trust myself. I trust our colleagues. We have a wonderful marketer here.
Who would like to be SU.
Yeah.
If they could.
You're so mean.
Beware of marketers is all I'm saying, because I've worked with marketing departments my whole career, and yeah, they will often have you say things. They like to stretch the truth.
It depends on who they are, what they're marketing, and what their ethics are like.
Hello, it's marketing in America in 2012 is something that is not trustworthy.
You're right. I will no longer trust Maureen.
Don't say it. I didn't say that.
Yes, you did. It came straight out of your mouth. You're in trouble.
We have this on video, and you can see it came out of your mouth.
Your mouth, my friend. I was interpreting what you were saying. I tried to give you an out, and you didn't take the out.
Okay. Do you have another piece of news?
You'd like me to move on?
Yeah.
Let's do that. Well, former Army intelligence officer John Alexander was recently interviewed by George Knapp on 8 News Now in Las Vegas, Nevada. Alexander is vocal about his belief in UFOs. As he stated to Knapp, UFOs are real, and I'm talking about physical reality. There are craft that are seen, balls of light flitting around to craft, some of them 1.5 miles across. They show up on radar and are really here. In his new book, UFOs, Myths, Conspiracies, and Realities, Alexander's skeptical nature is apparent. He doesn't believe the government has covered up knowledge about UFOs, a view that has garnered scorn from some UFO believers. Alexander told Knapp, the true believers are even more hostile than the skeptics. If you don't believe their particular brand, whatever that is, you become the enemy. You've got to buy every bit of it. Otherwise, you are part of the cover-up, and blah, blah, blah. Some of this hostility was displayed in February at the International UFO Congress, at which Alexander was a speaker. And we've got a video up on our YouTube channel that shows a little bit of kind of attacking Mr. Alexander.
I think that he likes to play the martyr, though, but he's not as much of a martyr as he thinks. A lot of the comments on that video are that, you know, they believe that he has something to what he's saying, and they like and appreciate what he's saying. And so there are a lot of people. I know there's a lot of our listeners who appreciated the show when he was on, and think that we've gotten a lot of feedback that there is a bigger portion of this community that appreciate what he's saying and have viewpoints more similar to his than he believes.
I think he gets a bad rap. I really do. I mean, I certainly enjoy his viewpoint, and I think he's got a good book. So
yeah, it's just if you go speak at a conference where, you know, it's mostly metaphysical and stuff, and people are really metaphysical and conspiracy, you know, of course, then that's going to be a group of type of people who are not going to be as open to what you're saying. But what's interesting is, especially at our conference, sure, there were some people that were really upset for him saying things like the government doesn't know much about UFOs and stuff. But there were a lot of people who really appreciated and believed what he had to say, too.
yeah, that's true. And you've read his book?
No, I haven't read the whole thing. I've read pieces and parts.
And I think that when you write a book, you need to follow in the suit of UFO book names and call it UFOs, and then have the name after it.
Yeah, UFOs, sweet! Exclamation mark.
I think you have to have 3 things.
Oh.
A series of commas.
Really?
Just like Leslie Kane's book.
Really sweet.
There you go. You've got it.
But in his book, you know, we did print one of the chapters in his book. It was actually the epilogue. And his epilogue, I think, is one of the best things it's written in this field. It was really good because it talked about just how we need to tackle this subject to be taken serious and to move it on to the next level, which is to get more of the conventional science and stuff like that interested and participating in the field. And so I thought what he wrote in that chapter especially is really, really good. Agreed.
And yeah, let up on John Alexander and actually read his book and hear what he has to say. He makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Actually. Well, Alejandro, this is somewhere you and I have to go. Spaceport America, the world's first commercial spaceport, is nearing completion. David Wilson, head of Spaceport America's media relations, recently told Space.com, the spaceport Phase 1 construction work is now 90% done and is on schedule to be done by the end of 2011. The spaceport occupies 1,800 acres of desert land approximately 45 miles north of Las Cruces, New Mexico, and is the world headquarters for the space tourism company Virgin Galactic. Construction has moved quickly since the groundbreaking ceremony on June 19, 2009. According to Wilson, the first phase of construction is made up of the spaceport's large runway, which is completed, the terminal hangar facility that Virgin Galactic will use, the internal roads, fencing, electrical system, water sewer systems, and the dome-looking space observation center. Phase 2 will include the final build-out of the vertical launch complex facility, the visitor and welcome centers in the neighboring towns of Truth or Consequence, and Hatch, a visitor area on the main spaceport campus. The southern road from Interstate I-25 to the spaceport is also part of Phase 2 construction. According to Space.com, Phase 2 is scheduled to be completed in 2013, making the spaceport fully operational. The completion of Phase 1 construction of the spaceport is good news for Virgin Galactic because they plan to begin launching their commercial space flights in 2013. So it's definitely going to be on time for them, and they are leading the charge, making spaceflight more attainable for us all.
It's so cool looking. The building looks like a manta ray fish.
It does.
And I love manta ray fish. It looks super cool. I'm really excited about it. And you know what I just thought of, since it's in New Mexico and it's near Hatches, where it is famous for their chili, green chili and red chili. So being where it's at, when you go there to the visitor center, and I'm guessing that visitor center is going to be really busy. They might be making as much money on that visitor center as anything else. I think there's going to be so many people visiting there because it's so cool and, you know, people flying up into space. But when you go out of the visitor center on the road, You'll probably be able to buy people roasting chilies.
The road will be lined with chili
Pinion
roasters.
nuts.
Yes.
There'll be beef jerky. People selling that kind of stuff because, people sell stuff on the street like crazy in that part of town.
You know that
Part of U.S.
that jerky company that has their shop in Nevada on the way to Area 51. They should open up a second location over by the spaceport.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Good
I wonder
business.
if a little city will build up around the spaceport.
It's definitely going to build up. I think it'll take time, but there's definitely going to be a lot of build up around there.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing there now, but there will be.
Yeah. And it's not far from Las Cruces. Really, it's a great vacation for space nuts because you can go there and then you can go to Alamogordo and White Sands. And when you drive from Las Cruces to Alamogordo, it's a lot of fun because you're driving for space geeks, because you're driving through the White Sands missile range. And it's the only road that really goes kind of in the middle of it. So to the right and the left, you have all of these crazy buildings and projects going on. You see signs like high-powered laser testing and small missile testing, large missile testing. And then there's a museum there with a lot of rockets that's in the White Sands. And when you get to Alamogordo, there's another cool, huge museum with rockets, a V2, stuff like that. So really, for space people, it's a lot of fun. And then you're just a few hours away from Roswell if you even wanted to do that.
Now you're getting crazy.
Yep.
Well, we'll have to do it. I'm excited. It's getting close to being done. We need to go check it out.
Yep.
And last but not least, astronomers announced today the discovery of 50 planets, including one super-Earth that may contain water and be in the habitable zone. According to the Washington Post, astronomers have not determined whether the new super-Earth is rocky like Earth or grassy like Jupiter, let alone whether it has an atmosphere. I said grassy, but I meant gassy.
No.
Gassy is a funny word.
Yeah.
Yep. But this new super-Earth is 3.5 times the mass of Earth, and unlike our wonderful planets we've talked about around the star Gliese 581, this one doesn't have nearly as fun of a name.
Super Earth?
The star is called HD8, and so the planet's name is 5512b.
Not anymore. Now it's Super Earth.
Yeah.
I think from now on it'll be known as Super Earth.
But saying Gliese 581g is still kind of crazy. It doesn't have a cool name like Jupiter, but this is even worse. HD8, 5512b.
Kind of
anticlimactic when
the
you
way it
say,
goes.
we found a super Earth. It's called HD8, 5512b.
Yeah. Not anymore. I'm going to call it Super Earth.
Please do.
So those people, poor people. Then if there's people living there, then they are super Earthlings. That's kind of cool.
You just blew my mind.
Yeah.
Well, Alejandro, that is it for the news for today. Remember to check out these stories and more at openminds.tv, your source for UFO-related news. I'm Jason McClellan, your Open Minds news correspondent, and you've been briefed.